Spoilerin time, folks. If you don't know Cordkillers, well, go subscribe to Cordkillers. That's the show where we figure out how to watch all these streaming services, where they're going, how much they cost, and then we come over here and talk about the things we've been watching. This week, we're going to talk about The Last of Us, Season 1, Episode 5, 2521, Season 1, Episode 14, and Miami Vice 404, Season 4, Episode 4, The Big Thaw. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Hey, Tom. Which are we starting with first?
Let's start with The Last of Us. We'll save most fun for last in this case. This is picking up in Kansas City. The Last of Us episode 5 of season 1, picking up in Kansas City, where we were left off with a cliffhanger of the people on the run running into Joel and Ellie in the skyscraper. And this episode basically takes us on their journey trying to evade the fine citizens of Kansas City and get out of town.
Yeah. You know what? For those who haven't been following everything, I played the first season a couple of times. Bryce has played it. Tom has not. So I feel like, Tom, you should go first and tell us your impression.
This was probably the slowest Last of Us TV episode for me so far. Really? And that is not to say it was slow, but I knew where we were going for the first time. We're going out of town. My question was, how long do they survive after we get out of town? Is it right after we get out of town? Is it right before we get out of town? But I had a suspicion that Henry and Sam were not going to be lifelong pals with Joel and Ellie. I did not call him killing himself or Sam getting infected. That was a surprise. Although once Sam got infected, I started to cotton really quickly. I'm like, ooh, I think this only ends with Henry killing himself. He's certainly not going to go on the road without Sam. But yeah, it felt, for The Last of Us, at least of these 5 episodes so far, the most expected of them. That is not to say that compared to other shows, it wasn't still full of twists and turns and things. Really love the scene where they're in the kind of schoolroom playground area that had been abandoned. Just a great way to kind of give you the story of this world and the fact that there were little pockets like this that existed and are no more.
Bryce, would I be right in saying that Henry killing himself is one of the biggest surprises in the video game experience? Because it's a cinematic, you have no say or in what happens, but after that moment that, you know, he shoots his little brother who's infected, that was a shocker in the game, and I was pleased to see that it was a shocker in the TV adaptation of it. It was really interesting because I played the video game, or I played the second video game with my daughter, but we watched the cinematics on the first one. She began to cry like 5 minutes before, like the moment there were any infected around. Like, she already remembered, like, oh, this is the moment, and we're gonna see that he's bit, and there's gonna be this heartbreaking fake out and so on.
Yeah, I didn't remember this story beat from the game very much. It's been a long time since I've played through this, but I will say, like, this is tough. This is part of that Walking Dead problem, right? Like, yeah, this is how you write the most effective version of the big brother little son story. Is like, so I don't know. I think that is by being so very close to the beats of the game in these really long stretches, I think that is a sign of just how cinematic the original game script is, and how much shine probably has left some of these tropes in the 10 years since the game first came out.
Sure.
You know, all of these zombie tropes, you know, that like, I'm just glad that they're not stretching this out. This is a really dense episode for sure, but they get a lot of stuff done. This is the second half of this whole Kansas City arc, and we're done with it.
One of the best parts was when the truck starts tilting down and you immediately start to realize, oh, right, they drove them all underground.
Player 3 has entered.
And then when they even knowing what's about to happen, when they all come barreling out, they managed to make me shake. They did that really well.
Yeah, I thought that was a great action scene, and it was another moment where you could feel like, oh, they're kind of trying to do the video game bit here of,
sure,
you're doing the sniper mission, and and ultimately, if you compare those experiences of playing an interactive scene where you're looking through the sniper and trying to protect everyone, and watching Pedro Pascal do it, you're probably getting the better experience watching it. You're going to get the better angle. You're going to get all the good timing. You don't get the frustration of having to play a game, and you also just break out of the box of having to play. I have to look through the viewfinder, and I have to control the camera, which is, a fundamental genre difference, but I think they do a good job of adapting it.
Well, and it's been a good decade since I played the first game for the first time, but I believe they've taken 2 completely independent story beats in the video game and combined them into this. I believe that there was one storyline that involved a sniper that they had to sneak around and then take him out, and then whoopsie doodle, here comes the infected, and they had to shoot the infected. And then separately was the storyline with Henry and his little brother. But we also see, again, video game logic. We see for the first time a bloater. I've seen a couple of headlines, Tom, some of which were saying, hooray, best bloater ever. Others saying, boo, worst bloater ever.
I saw it come out and went, wow, that's a really big one. I didn't know it was called a bloater until I watched the post show where they talked about, and we see our first bloater. But Eileen and I were both like, whoa, yeah, they grew them big in Kansas City.
Yeah, because other than it being a little more rotund looking, it's not like the Left 4 Dead. What's the big one in the Left 4 Dead? It's not like it's that thing and it's spewing toxic and it's making a
this is more like a Jack Black version of that. He's just sort of like cool and walking around.
Yeah. That's
He also teaches music in his off time.
That's right.
Doggone it. Sorry, I was so proud of my Jack Black joke. I forgot my next thing.
Well, and so the one big thing that they brought in is making Henry use ASL, and I don't know if they say he's deaf or mute or what have you, but they are working in American Sign Language.
And they cast a deaf actor who has ASL or knew ASL and was able to teach, like Bella Ramsey and Pedro Pascal a little bit. Yeah,
that's wonderful.
Yeah. I will say that the hotel for the story being a little rote. I thought that motel scene was really good between Ellie and Henry, especially as they're sharing the little Etch-a-Sketch pad. I thought that was just really sweet, and even if this is a well-trodden path, I think they do a good job of pacing it out really well and giving it a lot of emotion.
It may not have landed as well for you two, but the other thing they did great was teaching us that Sam is afraid in multiple flashback scenes, and then having him be afraid. And you, like Ellie, are thinking like, oh yeah, he's just afraid. And then he's like, no, I'm afraid because I got bit. And you're like, oh crap. That was a big twist. That was a big surprise.
That was the question that I'm now remembering, Tom, is for even a half second, were you a little bit hopeful that maybe her blood was magic and that you would be okay?
That is the exact way I would describe it. For a second, I was a little bit hopeful that maybe by some chance it would work, even though I know it wasn't gonna.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember from the game if it did work or not. There was a part of me that was like, this doesn't work, does it? No,
yeah. And then when he was sitting motionless, I'm like, it definitely didn't work. He's going to try to bite her. Like, yeah. I just didn't know if he was like fully changed or just going to be catatonic. But it was the right choice to just have him start going after her right away, go right into the action. I've been rating these based on how much time I pay attention to. The first 2 episodes, they were over before I even thought how much was left. I was always shocked when it was over. I'm like, I had no idea we were even close to the end. 3 and 4, I would say I was aware that there was still time, but I wasn't checking it. I wasn't as shocked at the end. This is the first time where I actually did check one time to see how much time we had left.
This is probably non-coincidentally the first episode that is explicitly about the rules of the world building. I've had a hard time describing what it is that Last of Us has to offer that we haven't already seen in The Walking Dead. There's the superficial aspect of the fact that it's a fungus instead of a, I don't know, magic, whatever. But I've leaned heavily on the character studies that we've seen and the fact that we're seeing, in theory, somebody super jaded in the form of Joel who breaks down his character. But then there are people like our friend Justin Robert Young, who says, man, I've seen that a lot. I'm not impressed by that at all. And also, we definitely saw Pedro Pascal specifically play this kind of character recently in The Mandalorian. But then we get wonderful episodes like the Bill episode. I honestly, at this point, Tom, all I can say is it does justice to the video game. And I can't explain another reason that anybody should watch this. Do you have better words than I in this regard?
The thing that I like about it is all I can say. I like that it is a different way of telling the zombie story. And it's not the zombie story that you've never seen before, but it's spending a lot more time on the people. And a lot of the things that The Walking Dead sort of pointed at itself and said, hey, look at us. We're showing you it's the humans that are more dangerous. The Last of Us just starts with, it's like, yeah, the humans are more dangerous. That's not a new thing. We're going to show you what that means. And show you what characters would really be like. And I appreciate that. It feels like advancing the dialogue. In a way, Walking Dead, when I first read The Walking Dead, I thought was amazing as a graphic novel, and really enjoyed the TV adaptation of it because it was doing things that zombie movies had not done before in pointing to the humans. I think Last of Us advances the story and lets us see more about the human condition and characters because of that.
Bryce, do you have a take on this?
God, it is weird because I think this was something that I did struggle a little bit with the Bill episode, which is this is a great story. This is an interesting world that we're setting up, but I wonder how much attention is being paid to characterizing Joel and Ellie a lot. Joel is really, really nice in this show. And I know that it's a story of like
and he was grumble. Not in the video game. He was,
it takes, part of it is it takes longer in the video game. Yeah. Part of it is you're killing hundreds of humans and zombies. And
as Joel.
And so you do lose a bit of edge about it. But I think ultimately they're going to tell the story that this game is about. And that will be the crux of it, right? Which is about finding family, finding love, finding whatever you want to call it, in the worst of scenarios, and looking much like what excites us about The Walking Dead. What would happen if everyday life was intersected with a zombie apocalypse? And so I think that they're doing a good job of that, and I appreciate that they're not taking their time. We're really running through this game.
Yeah, bring us through. Speed run it.
Yeah.
All right, that's The Last of Us Season 1, Episode 5. Let's talk about 25-21, Season 1, Episode 14. We are getting near the end. There's only 2 episodes after this one. So this kind of brings you a full circle on Urim's story. You have a flash forward beginning because in the trope of Hito's daughter reading her diaries, she runs out of diaries, which is probably true, right? At some point, Hito just stopped keeping her high school diary. And so she has to go online, and she only finds this video clip from the future, or from the future in the perspective of our story, that shows that Hito and Yejin seem to have a little distance between each other, and that she was just in the finals against Russia's Julia Ko. Then we go to Urim's story, and her dad is in a truck crash. I'm gonna hand it over to you two now to tell me what you thought before we go more into the summaries.
Bri?
I'll go first, and Bryce, feel free to make me miserable for saying this.
Okay.
I was electrified by the beginning of this episode. It was great to see something besides the trope of the diary. It was great to go into a more modern era media. It was great for that clip to very clearly show that there was distance between our 25 and 21. It was great to have the agonizing, like when we find out why Koyurim would go to Russia and change citizenship and so on, I'm like, yeah, no, that tracks. That makes sense. That's a good daughter. I hope I have daughters that would do that for me. I would do that for my parents. It makes sense. We still don't know exactly what the rift is between Hito and Koyurim. It was great.
Hito and Yejin?
Sorry.
You're talking about because they're in the finals against each other.
Right, correct.
Gotcha.
Like very clearly, it's a dirty face-off at the end of it. You know.
Well, I mean, and they're rivals from rival countries at that point, right? I mean, you've got the
but
competition.
They're also
under.
Not getting along at that point. It appeared to be right. Yeah. But I'm beginning to see, Tom, all of the things that you saw that like. I go back to the beginning of our cross-examination of this whole thing, and I think how silly my comments and Bryce's as well would be about a love triangle or whatever when I see now how complex the story eventually gets. I finally feel like we're actually enjoying the developments that you had promised us.
Yeah, I feel like this is. I agree that this is a really strong episode. It certainly helps that we get a lot of bombshells, right? We get the Julia Ko thing right up front. We get the diary abruptness right up front. And like, I thought it was really great that the daughter finally thought to Google any of these people and to see the news clip, which I know that this is a drama. I know we're soap dramaing it up, but just... Such a
She was just so engrossed in the diary. She hadn't thought about it yet. Yeah.
But even the timing of that
seems to have taken a few weeks,
there.
possibly. But yeah.
Well, and so, but I would love to, because we're seeing this big conflict. We're still seeing this journalism conflict with Becky Jane. And we get to see that Hito hasn't given up fencing. She's still in it. She still did it for a long time on the international stage.
And
won
with
gold medals.
Real stakes.
Yeah.
I love this episode. It's a little bit longish, but I love this episode mostly because there wasn't much I could tell you to skip. A montage here, a longish conversation there, but we are spending time subverting your expectations if you're expecting typical drama. The best one for me, and it got me again. I'd totally forgotten what happened when the truck hits, It doesn't really matter, but the white truck is a trope in Korean dramas. The white truck is always the thing that kills you or whatever character you care about. And so you see the white truck and you're like, Yurim's dad is dead. And then they're like, nope, worse than that. He caused the accident.
Right.
And now has to deal with the aftermath and the guilt and the money that goes with that. And I remember the first time I watched through it being struck by the fact that they used the white truck and they're like, yep, nobody died. We're gonna make it worse and more real than that, which, like you said, Brian, gives a perfectly legitimate reason for Yurim, who you've built up as like someone who is a responsible daughter, right? Remember when she didn't want the phone because she's like, I don't think you can afford this. Now is like, well, now it's real. Now I really have to take action. This isn't, well, I guess I can let you spend too much on a phone. This is, I have to save our family, and this is the only way I can do it.
And we also get a bit of a preview of back as I don't know, Shepard Smith in early Fox News days, like
because he's an anchor
clearly,
now.
Clearly on the upswing in his career. I mean, from beginning to end, Tom, this was a good one. I too could not think of a single point I would want to skip on it. Oh, including the sort of forced everybody's back around the table and they're like, remember when we were around this table before getting those fishes off the floor? Only this time we actually feel it for each other. We're great. High fives.
It's a little cheesy, but that Russian language translations that they wrote for her, where they get her to say things like Jiwoon's my boyfriend and Hito's the best and all that. It was very sweet. Yeah. I also really like the scene in the restaurant where Yurim sticks up for herself and then says, it's because of you, Hito. That's why I stick up for myself.
That's when they're all playing drinking games that I assume were familiar in Korea.
No. Later, when Hito comes and sneaks Yurim out of the fencing studio,
yes,
because the press are after her, and then they go to a restaurant.
They set up the dummy,
and the restaurateur won't serve her the noodle dish,
and they rip her signature off the wall, and they try to give her the money back. Yeah, I thought that was such a great monologue.
And then Yurim I thought, Hito's going to stand up for her, and Yurim stands up for herself, which was good.
Yeah. On the subject of skipping, I'll just say this, and maybe it's because I'm watching on subtitles. When you skip around on subtitles, you get to see a little bit because the subtitles can last for a couple of seconds, right? There's a lot of the show that I could just do a lot of tiny rice slices.
The right arrow is your friend.
Just a few.
10 seconds. You see them begin the sentence. You hit the right arrow. Yeah. You see the end of the next sentence.
Got it.
You're probably fine.
Got it. So that's my only response to no skips was that a lot of little skips, which I think is fine. Yeah. I think
that's what I was trying to say is like, I leave you to your own conscience of when to skip. You'll know, and that was fine.
Well, I will not admit to skipping, but it sounds like both of us just admitted to skipping.
Okay, so we did get a little bit of Yijin and Hito in this. Kind of having fights over not what we thought. They led us to believe that Yijin being close to Hito would cause a problem. It's his closeness to Yurim that ends up causing the problem, which is him breaking the story about her moving to Russia. And
also straight up admitting to Hito that it's like, I'll do the same to you. Like,
he's like, I know
if there's a story there, sorry, you're just grist for the mill.
I've just been put to the test on this. I can tell you exactly what I would do. But then he feels horrible about it. He's walking through the tunnel. He sees the nasty graffiti, breaks down, and then Hito shows up to paint over the graffiti. But before we see them interact, we break back to the flash forward we started the episode with, and Yejing congratulates Hito on her marriage.
Oh yeah, she got that's right. Because that's not her father.
I mean, obviously,
yeah.
Unless,
and so if you were,
that would be even weirder, Brian. Just think about that for one.
That would be out of character from the show, from what I've seen, but not taking it off the table.
Yeah, but it does make it less likely that it's that she is Yejin's daughter for sure. All right. Anything else on 25-21?
No. So as we round the corner on the entire series, no more skips or what?
Don't give him any ideas.
I imagine not, but I'm not 100% sure. It seems like the odd numbered episodes have had more skips than the even ones. So I'll watch 115 and let you know.
Yeah. Okay.
That is 25-21, season 1, episode 14. Now we get to Miami Vice, season 4, episode 4, The Big Thaw.
Oh my gosh.
You may have noticed if you watch this that there's not a particularly great celebrity guest appearance. That's because this is the only one of the ones I picked simply because of the description of the episode that a cryogenically frozen reggae musician goes missing. And I'm like, can't pass up that story. And I'm not sure if I'm glad that I didn't pass it up or not, because it was a sitcom of a Miami Vice episode, was it not?
You know what? I'll go first.
Go first.
This was a great episode.
What? What?
This was a 1940s, 1950s style Isaac Asimov short story. It was a meditation on the condition of what it means to be alive or dead. When are you state property? When are you not?
Sure.
I'll
buy that.
It is comic in its setup. And I think a lot of shows, in fact, as a matter of fact, I want to explore how many shows have those like super, like at some point Family Matters becomes like Urkel becomes a mad scientist at some point or whatever. This feels like that kind of period in Miami Vice. However, despite the fact that we have our cartoonish clown villain who decides that, I have this recipe from God on how to resurrect the dead, and I'm gonna get these Japanese investors. Like if you back away from, okay, first of all,
how far back do we need to go? How far do we need to squint?
I will totally own the fact that everything about this is comical right up until the very end. Did you guys notice the cartoon star twinkle at the end?
Yeah, it was not subtle.
It was not subtle.
Also, just the pod falls into the water and then it clearly sinks, but it's floating at the end. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
okay.
is it floating at the end just so that you can see it?
Yeah,
and they
loose
can do the
strings.
twinkle?
It's unraveling. Jan Hammer.
Yeah.
All of those.
This came immediately after Death and the Lady, the one about the porn, which came immediately after the Televangelist. So we went Televangelist, porn, cryogenic freezing.
This would have been before I had ever heard of fugu before, and it asks a very simple question: somebody dies of fugu, do you freeze them and then wait until a cure for fugu appears just around the corner, which it does a year and a half later, and then until then, is he property? Is he alive? Is he dead? Like, this is heady stuff for Miami Vice to try to tackle in its cartoonish, silly way. And in fact, I love the fact that Don Johnson and Tubbs end up arguing about this. They go into moral philosophy. This is stuff we're not going to see until The Good Place, decades later. I loved it. I loved this entire episode.
I think what put me on shakier ground is not that they were doing the meditations. I love that part too, but they play it for laughs a lot in a way that I don't feel like Miami Vice has usually done. Especially with Izzy's character.
Very wackety schmackety. I forgot about the Izzy thing. I clued in. Oh, we should know him, but
you didn't even remember it.
No, I
wow.
didn't remember it.
Wow, he's been in a bunch of these episodes.
I believe it. The wiki is telling me so.
You know what it felt like? It felt like an Omni magazine mini article where it's like, here's a crazy idea. Isn't it crazy? What if it actually came true? There's no reason it can't. Anyway, here's a commercial.
But I don't know. The conflict on this seemed more clerical than anything, right? Like, didn't you have him sign anything? You would just have a piece of paper that he signed at some point, right? He would just no, he signed the thing. Like that's the thing from, like, I get it. Like, there's a really interesting thing of, like, if you freeze a body, when is it frozen? When does it die? Freezing doesn't just stop time, but could it? But this was all just like, who owns this man?
Is he evidence? Put him on the desk for comic reasons.
Yes. And then we have the whole business with the office being repaired at the same time.
Switek is doing physical comedy the entire time.
Absolutely.
Who did Switek pay off to get so prominent in the season?
Well, and also, not only that, he's doing physical comedy and also accurately calling out all of the scientific precepts that are being explored in this moral philosophical question. I don't know.
I'll say one other thing about this show. Especially in its fourth season, I wish they would be better about these long one-shot takes that they do. This episode's got a bunch of them, and it's it makes their deliveries so bad because they just have to take whatever they can get with these like 2-minute shots.
And people who have definitely read the script maybe 15 minutes beforehand.
Yeah.
And are with all the ands and ums and
it just doesn't make like the
but
opening
what about this?
doesn't make sense. So much of it just doesn't make sense. They need to they should really turn course on Miami Vice.
I didn't pick this for its guest appearance. And this definitely lends to the comic aspect unintentionally, but did you catch that Doc Ock was the attorney?
Alfred Molina. I remember him more as the give me the whip, I throw you the idol. But yeah,
too. Yep.
That's amazing.
I knew that going in because I looked to see. I was like, oh, okay, the closest to celebrity appearance would be Alfred Molina. That's not bad, even though I didn't pick it because of that. And then as I was watching it, I totally forgot that was him, that he was going to be in it until he showed up. And I was like, I can't place that. That's right. Yeah, that's where that's from. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind being alone on this one, but this one felt like such the silver age of science fiction short stories. It felt so pulpy. I just loved it. I loved it, and I can't. I'll apologize if I have to.
What? Okay, first off, that's manipulative. Second of all, it just feels with the wiki. I looked this up because I needed to know more about this information, and also the weird credits thing that I found where they hastily added a "co" to someone's title, but they didn't recenter it, so it's off center. But wiki says that this is one of like 3 or 4 episodes where the Vice Department deals with extra jurisdictional stuff, and apparently those are considered the worst episodes because of their sci-fi elements. One has to do with alien. We should watch the UFO one. There's a UFO one.
Yes, I'm in. I will definitely watch that one. Also, did anybody else notice that every time, or the majority of the times that they cut to the reggae guy in cryogenic stuff, very clearly they had taken a still frame from the film and just from like you could see there was like one hair on there or something that was not moving.
Oh no, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, I didn't catch that either, but that doesn't surprise me. All right, so we will not be doing another Miami Vice for a couple of weeks, but just so you know, Miami Vice fans, when we do return, Child's Play with Ving Rhames is the next one on the docket. Tormented by shooting a 13-year-old kid, Crockett reconnects with his estranged son. So we're definitely getting off the comic weird, unusual, going back to the hard hitting. And then the one we'll watch after that is actually 2 episodes after Child's Play. That's the one with the UFOs and has nice. James Brown in it.
Oh, nice.
Living in America.
Is that era.
Wrong?
Coast to coast.
Station to station. So yes, that is the Big Thaw, Miami Vice season 4, episode 4. Next week, we will be watching the beginning of season 3 of Picard. It's back, season 3, episode 1. We will watch The Last of Us, season 1, episode 6, and 2521, season 1, episode 15. Thanks, everybody, for getting these episodes early. If you're a patron, if you want to get these episodes early, packaged up nicely so you can pick just the ones you want, go become a patron at patreon.com/DTNS. We'll spoil you next time.
No. Watch After Talk. Sir,
shut up and let me do a pickup. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. We'll spoil you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.